Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of OTT.X Webinars, where we bring you thought-provoking insights from industry-leading executives, experts, and innovators from all sectors of the OTT, CTV, and streaming space. My name is Jose Rodriguez. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we are happy to be joined by Ken Campo, co-founder and president of Total Content Digital, and Arjun Mendhi, founder and CEO of Molten Cloud, for a timely discussion on how media businesses are reimagining their royalty operations to thrive in today's new reality. Ken and Arjun's conversation will help us understand why royalty processes have become so complex and what's no longer working, see how the industry is responding with smarter, scalable technology solutions, and learn practical steps to streamline royalty workflows today. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them into the Q&A bin, and time permitting, we will get to them at the end of the session. And without further ado, I will turn it over to OTT.X members and close friends, Arjun and Ken. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. The floor is all yours.
Hello, hello, hello.
So guys, have a great one.
Well, I'm pounding coffee. I'm ready for this event. And Jose, what was that music? The intro music. I mean, this is like I never heard of that music before.
I'll send you the link after the session.
Okay, good. Just wondering. What was that?
Sounds
Anyway,
very AI generated, I'd say.
yeah, exactly.
All right, well, let's get the show on the road here. Really excited to be having this chat with you today, Ken. Thank you for making time, and thanks OTTX for inviting us to share our joint experience with the Great Migration, as it says on the title. So the topic for today is the Great Rights and Royalties Migration, how modern media companies are rethinking their workflows. And we're going to start the conversation with Ken Campo. Ken, would you please give us an introduction and a background on your experience in the industry?
Oh, okay. Well, I've been doing this quite a long time. I started back in the VHS days. VHS, remember that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And then DVDs came on, and I used to, it was in retail, home entertainment, sold to all the major retailers, finished goods. And then in 2013, well, around 2010, I go, hey, there's this thing called streaming, that maybe we should start looking at.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I think it might replace finished goods. And so 2012, finished goods kind of just went off a cliff. And then I partnered with my partners, and we started Total Content Digital,
And what year
streaming.
was this?
Pardon me?
What year was this?
2013 we started.
2013.
Right. And we thought we were a little late, but we weren't actually. Things were really starting to get heated up. And then, so we went full force into digital distribution. They called it
Mm-hmm.
digital in those days. It was just
Mm-hmm.
all digital. And
Yeah.
so now, 10, 11 years later, we have, 7,500 titles. We distribute to all the major services and platforms, and we have our own channels. So,
To maybe mention a few outlets that you distribute to, and a few, platforms that you have your channels on.
oh, you name it. I mean, Amazon, Roku, Pluto, all the connected TVs, Vizio, uh, Tubi, Zumo. I mean, we're everywhere that makes sense.
Hmm.
Not all places make sense, but
Yeah.
and our channels there, we syndicate those to the connected TVs. We're on Amazon, Roku, you name it. So we're out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So pretty sizable catalog, and suffice to say, you're everywhere. People typically go to watch content. What territories of the world do you operate in?
Oh, I didn't hear you on. I'm sorry.
What territories of the world do you?
Oh, yeah, territories. Mostly U.S., Canada, North America, although we do sell UK quite a bit, mostly English speaking countries
Okay.
for this type of content.
Okay. So we'll get into your operations, but it sounds like there's a lot to unravel here when it comes to operations, and excited to dig in. Quick introduction of my background. I'm the founder and CEO of Molten Cloud. I started Molten Cloud out of basically a research project I was running at MIT. And it stems from over 15 years of interest I've had in the space of media rights management. I started my career as a software engineer. And funny enough, by day I was a software engineer, and by night I was a musician. I don't know if you know that, Ken. But so, early 20s, long hair, goat beard those days. I had a band, I had a studio, I recorded, I did a little bit of touring, and started getting introduced to record labels and producers. And, that sort of engineering mind asked questions about rights and royalties and the supply chain. And it got me really fascinated. And in 2012, I filed my first patent in media rights management. 2018, January 2018, we started Molten. And Molten has become a specialist for the film and TV industry. For those who are not familiar, Molten provides a technology platform that can do three core things in a connected way. It can do rights management, content management, and royalties management. So when we think about rights, think of everything to do with contracts, titles, metadata, availabilities, reports, exports, imports, all that stuff to deal with rights and intellectual property rights. Content is the storage of content, delivery of the content, moving it around the world, receiving it, letting it out of your system. And then royalties is once your content is out there in the world, making revenue, being watched, you receive all sorts of data. That could be revenue data, expense data, performance data, ingesting it, normalizing it, running computations, running statements. So today we're going to talk about the great rights and royalties migration that both Total Content Digital and Molten Cloud teamed up on. And hopefully we'll share a few takeaways that will be beneficial to you all joining us. All right.
Arjun,
Anything to add?
Arjun, let me just
Yeah.
jump in and say that I knew you were smart, but I never heard your whole resume, and that's very impressive. And so, I've really come up in the world. I never thought just a VHS sales guy would be, hanging out with an MIT engineer. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for joining us and sharing your story with us today. I mean, all said and done, you're setting an example for the industry to observe. So, really excited that you're opening up today. So, without further ado, let's get into it. There are three things we're going to cover, and then we'll open it up for questions. So, we'll go in sort of a chronological order of the Great Migration. We'll start with life before a migration. What does it look like? What are the considerations? What happens during a migration? And then looking back after a migration, what are the big takeaways? We'll open it up for questions. Feel free to use the Q&A button on Zoom and submit your questions to us. We have ample time. I think we should be able to have a pretty in-depth conversation. So let's start with before migration. Before migration, there are three things we've listed here. Let's just cover them in order. The first thing I'd love to learn from you, Ken, is what did life look like before a migration? What was that legacy process for doing rights and royalties?
Well, in the beginning, back in 2013, we started out with probably, 100 titles. So, it was just, with two or three customers. So it was easy, you know what I mean? You'd get your royalty reports from a customer, our accountant would just, allocate, spreadsheet, come up with two or three royalty reports and we sent it out. But as the years went on, it just became harder and harder as you went from a few hundred titles to 1,000 titles to to 10 customers, 20 customers, different rights. And so, I think over the years before we migrated, I mean, we thought we were pretty smart. It was, I don't know what we were, our account came up with stuff. We'd write code to match titles with royalties. Spreadsheets. It was a nightmare. Basically, it became a nightmare as the years went on because you would end up spending weeks figuring out your royalties before this and before Molten. And I don't even know how we did it, frankly. I don't even know. I mean, I don't know how, we had a head of accounting. She was with us for years and she knew our catalog. So we were able to get by, and we had one of our, we write code, we would write a code and match it up. And I don't even know how we did it, but it just became such a nightmare that some years back, we started looking at, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this. And as we started to scale.
Gotcha. So for rights management, you were primarily using a spreadsheet-based solution?
Yeah, it was spreadsheets. It was smart sheets on the internet, Google Docs. I mean, all these crazy ways to manage it, and this is like I said, as we got more and more titles, it just became more and more inefficient.
Yeah, yeah. And you do have a pretty smart technical team. We've worked with them, so I'm sure they were able to build some optimizations around it. And
Yeah, we were able to do something. I mean, but it was still a lot of it was manual. A lot of it was okay. What do the royalties look like? Let me look at them. Oh no, that doesn't right. That doesn't match. That doesn't go to that producer. But the scary thing about that was, if me or my partner died or something, it's like no one would know who to pay. I mean, it became so crazy.
yeah, we call it the hit by a bus factor, but I see what you mean. Uh, there's institutional memory in the minds of a handful of people. Um, okay, and can you, for folks who don't fully, grasp why this problem matters, why is it even complex? Why was it a nightmare? Can you break it down for us? Why is the problem of managing rights across, a few thousand titles so complex? And when we start talking about royalties, why does it get even more complex?
Okay, well, any customer um, sends a royalty report to you, right? And that customer A may call a title something, a certain thing.
When you say
Customer B,
customer, you're referring to the streamer?
the streamer, the
Right.
service, yeah, right. When you're getting their royalty reports from them, they're
Yeah.
reporting to you what they're paying,
Yeah.
and it's not all consistent. Back in the day, I talked about DVD and VHS. We had what's called a UPC code,
Yeah.
where each item, each title had a UPC code. Well, that doesn't happen. In
Mm.
that, nobody ever thought of that. You got to invent that, Arjun. Come up with a
We
code.
have the Molten ID for every
Yeah,
title.
yeah, I know, but I mean, there was no way. So Amazon would report a title one way, Tubi to report it another way. All the reports they're completely different. And then you throw Grace Note. You ever heard of Grace Note in?
I have.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't want to throw Grace Note under the bus. They're probably on, but I'm just saying. A lot of people pull data from Grace Note, and so all of a sudden, Roku's reporting a title in French. It's
Yeah.
like, what the heck's that? I don't even know what that is. So every quarter I'm looking at 500 titles, interpreting what this title was. So that's a problem. uh,
Hmm.
then once it comes in and you find out exactly what it is, then you have to go to your agreement and go, how much do we pay that person on in Canada, in all these different territories. It just, the list goes on and on. And then when you multiply titles times all these variables, it's literally thousands and thousands of lines of data that have to be normalized to pay your royalties. So it takes weeks. It could take weeks, at the end of it. We pay quarterly. So
Yeah.
did I cover it all? I mean, it's just all that
Yeah. I
is
mean, I hear you. And then there are also these edge cases that we've seen. For example, YouTube will pay for titles that are not even in your catalog because of their content ID thing that will connect some title to your rights. And then when you get a title like that, there is no way to match it because you never owned it rights into a title like that. Um, yes.
let
And
me
there are,
tell you what changed it for us. When
uh,
I decided we got to do this, we can't go on like this. It was probably 3 or 4 years ago. We had our accountant, the lady that she's fantastic. She retired, and
mm,
so we brought in new people, and it was a nightmare. They didn't know anything.
yeah.
We have titles called, we have a lot of Hitler titles. I mean, every Hitler title to the new department looked all the same. So we ended up paying royalties to people that, well, we thought we were going to start paying royalties to people. We catch it that the title didn't belong to them, and so I said, hey, this has got to change. And so we started looking at companies other than your company a
Mm.
while back, and we actually started with another company, and then we found Molten, but that's another story. And so,
Interesting. Yeah, so there are several complexities. And I think one of the other complexities that not everyone's aware of is the even if you're able to do title matching and normalizing of the incoming data, the rest of the calculation process is also very complex with minimum guarantees, sometimes cross-collateralizations, variable deal structures depending on territories, license types, and so on. Um, and the incoming reports can be sometimes in hundreds of thousands of rows per platform, depending on how many pennies they want to report
yeah,
individually.
yeah, yeah.
Uh, Amazing. So yeah, that's a good segue into the final piece in the pre-migration chapter about evaluating solutions. Could you walk us through, you told us what triggered you to go to market. How did you start evaluating solutions? What did you look for? How did you land on Molten?
Well, we just start asking around. We go to Stream TV. Hey, who do you guys use? Who do you work with? Just talking to everybody I know, and what's a way to do it, and there were established rights management companies out there that have been doing it for a long time.
Mm,
But as I started to talk with them, I realized that they were more geared towards studio stuff, bigger stuff. They'd been doing that for years, working with not necessarily working with streaming companies, of our size especially. So I would talk to them, and it would be kind of you know cookie cutter type of solution.
mm,
It's just like, oh, well, this is what we do, and this is how we work, and so we had to kind of mold to these bigger companies and the way they've been doing business with years, and they were pricey. I mean,
mm,
really, really expensive, and I just never felt it was a good fit. So we ran into a company that was a very, very basic company, not Molten.
mhm,
That was just a way to keep track of our rights management. And I thought that would help. But as we got started with them, I go, this is not going to work because we can't grow with this company, and their user interface is just way too complicated, you know.
Right.
And then I'm not sure how we ran into Molten. I think my partner Jay ran into you guys, and he goes, check these guys out. And so I looked at your website, and I'm going, I saw that you had started in 2018, and we started looking at your user interface, and we started talking to your team. You seem to be more in tune with companies our size, willing to work with us, to bring us on, help us understand this process, and give us the attention that we needed, because we like attention. I mean, we like to pick up the phone and talk to somebody, and you guys did that. You would pick up the phone and call us back. That did it for me. I mean, if I could talk to somebody, I mean, I go, these guys, and even though you weren't as far along as some of these other older companies, to me, once I got started talking to you, it was about, you were willing to collaborate, you were available, you were willing to help us, and you were flexible with the pricing to get started, willing to bring us on. So there was a lot of things that, and also, you were building this platform. You were willing to listen to us and take suggestions. One funny story. I met with you in France. We were at MIP, and we were talking, just meeting, and I was, just telling you, hey, you guys ought to do this, you guys ought to do that, you guys this, that, and the other thing, and at first, I go, man, I'm talking to the CEO here at Molten, I don't know, he's gonna get mad at me or something, but you turned to me, and after I was talking, you go, I like that, that's saucy.
I remember
that's saucy. And I'm going, hey, look,
You give me some good ideas, Campo.
if that guy thinks my ideas are saucy, we're gonna go places. So yeah, there was a lot of reasons why we did it, and to get started. But then as we got rolling, I got a lot to say too. So
All right, let's get into that section. But interesting you mentioned that meeting in France. I remember you were just bursting with amazing ideas, and I pulled out my phone and I recorded you giving me those ideas and shared that with my team.
Okay.
I still have the recording somewhere.
I'm a star. I'm going to charge a royalty on that.
Yeah, internal purposes only.
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's all right.
But yeah, that speaks to the time when we were just getting off the ground with this royalties idea. It was always our vision to integrate these back office operations across rights, content, royalties, and we realized that the most of the ways we saw it being done in the industry were pretty fragmented. That rights was done in a one separate compartment, and royalties was done in a separate product, and there was some form of integration or handshake between two tools, or there'd be a rights management software that would acquire royalty software or a couple of them. There wasn't a sense of it is purpose built to go across rights and royalties. There also, as you pointed out, wasn't the sense that it is purpose built for this future we are getting into, full steam ahead for online consumption, where the volume of royalties computation is unprecedented. We're dealing with millions of penny statements for each client who's doing it on a monthly or quarterly basis. Love that you could, even at the early days, see that difference and then follow it through with conviction. So now let's get into the fun stuff during migration. So you made the decision to go with Molten. You made the decision, more importantly, to do something about digitizing this. And your accountant had retired, so you were left with really no choice but to start digitizing it. Can you walk us through what the migration process looked like? What was the preparation that you did from your side that maybe helped or did not help? And then what was the process you followed?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, at first, it for me, it was kind of like, I don't even know how we're going to do this.
Mm,
I don't even know how a company like Molten, you guys could take what we do and organize this and do the work and I just didn't even I was willing to we had to try and and you guys I believed you but for me it was like wow I don't know how we're going to do this
mm,
so fortunately for us, like you said, my team, I mean, we had some efficiencies built in already in
mm,
terms of, all the metadata, all the titles. We had internal IDs. We had all this stuff in the cloud in the JSON files. We had the data pretty buttoned up.
mm,
And so and I've thought to myself, I go, I don't know, how do we do this? What do we do? Somebody sits at a computer and enters every title that we have with all the metadata and cut and paste and all the. I mean, is that how we're going to do that? It'll take years to get this going. But as we start talking to your team, uh, great guys, they go, hey, look at no, you guys got this. You guys got this in JSON files, spreadsheets, whatever you got in the cloud. We can import all that stuff into the system,
mhm.
with kind of a push of the button. And I'm going, wow, that's so you can populate Molten just from the data we have. Yeah, we can do that. And so we started that process. But you know what? You gotta be buttoned up. You know what I
Mm,
mean? If you're gonna go into a system like yours, you gotta have your stuff. You gotta have your stuff together because you can't start the process and go, oh, you don't have descriptions for 600 titles. What's the runtime? We don't. I don't know. Is it closed captioned? I mean, you got to be buttoned up. You got to have your data ready. And that makes it easier. If you're not buttoned up and you're unorganized, it's going to be really hard to get into a system like yours to
yeah.
migrate. So that was something that I really wanted to do. I wanted to get our content into your system first and buttoned up with where we everything that we had is in there, and that was not easy because I don't even know some of the stuff we had. I mean, it's just like, what about that? Oh, I forgot about it. That's 400 titles that we don't. I mean, it's just it's a big job, and the migration into your system with our rights management content first. That was the key. You got to get that right and into the system.
Yeah. So that was the metadata and the title list. What about the contracts data? How did you go about, preparing that and getting that into Molten?
Same thing. Same thing. We were prepared it very clear in JSON spreadsheets or whatever my team used. I don't know. We wrote code, and
Yeah.
we were able to. You don't have to write code and all that stuff, but if you have your stuff buttoned up, you got to have the contract, the percentage, the who it is, all the contact information. You got to have that in some type of format that can be imported in the Molten. And it's the same thing. It was the same thing. And then once you get it in, you're associating content with contracts. You got to make sure it's correct. I mean, the startup takes some effort, but
Yeah.
on my side, you got to have everything ready to go. You got to have as much information available, and then Molten is great. Your team is great because they go, "What do you got?" Well, we got it this way, and you go, "Oh, we can do that." You know
Yeah.
what I mean? We'll work with that.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. We'll do it. Just so that's kind of how we got going.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a few things I would definitely want to point out that we have observed as well that contributed to this onboarding going smoothly. Um, the first one is we always advise our clients to assign somebody internally who will essentially be a team lead for the day-to-day operations of the migration. And shout out to your team. They were really on top of it. Our team and your team would meet at least once a week
Once a
during the
week. Yeah.
migration process.
Yeah.
And that also ensures there is a close collaboration between the teams. This is not the type of project that one team can do by itself. It's not your team can't do it by themselves, and our team can't do
No.
it without collaboration. So going back to the pre-migration phase, when you talked about, looking at products, I think one interesting sort of subtext there was you were also trying to get a feel for the teams behind these companies. And I feel like that starts manifesting in the migration process, the dynamic between the two teams, because there will always be surprises. It's very rare that we're not surprised by something or the other in a migration process. There'll always be something unexpected. But if the teams are collaborative and they're ready for a few surprises here and there and ready to sort of work with each other to find solutions, then it usually goes well. We also advise our clients to be ready to make decisions quickly and efficiently. So, for example, migration is also an opportunity to clean up their rights trees and territory trees and their contract structures and how they're storing their metadata, how they're grouping things. A lot of this sort of once in a decade kind of cleaning can be done when people migrate softwares. And when that is one of the goals, then decisions need to be made very quickly. And kudos to your team. You were really very efficient with making decisions as well. So these sort of factors came together to really help make this an efficient process. But on the point of surprises, um, you said that you had started the process, you had you know, some concerns whether this can even be done. Can you talk a bit about your doubts getting into this? Did you think that this project would be successful? Did you think this project was, going in the right direction? Did you ever have moments where you reconsidered or you were not as confident about the project?
Well, see, the thing with Molten is, and I emphasize this with my team. I go, once we make this decision,
Yeah.
failure's not an option.
Mm.
Okay, because once you start migrating and enter your system, it's a lifestyle. It's a
Yeah.
lifestyle. This is how you have to operate. You have to, I'm not paying this money and not using this software.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm going to use it to the fullest and you're going to hear about it. You know what I mean? And if it's not working, you're going to hear about it.
Yeah.
So to me, failure wasn't an option. We couldn't go on the way we were doing. We had too much content, too many problems. I mean, our accounting hours were off the charts. I can tell you later, whenever you want, how much it saved us.
Yeah.
I mean, it saved us so much time. So I knew once we got going, it was going to help. I had doubts at first about how long it was going to take. I knew it would work. It's just
Mhm.
that, man, this is a lift to get this
Yeah.
going. And but I emphasize to everyone who was working on this, they go, look, we cannot fail this. And if there's a problem, you got to fix it,
Yeah.
Molten, and your team and you got to fix this because once you get rolling and you do this, where are you going to switch? How are you going to switch? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I mean, once you're rolling with this system, so it's a big commitment.
Yeah.
and I had to feel that I was going to have this support, and that's why we did the deal. We felt we could, because if you don't have the support, and you're it's just you're spending this money, you're doing this, and nobody's working with you. You're just a number. And with Molten, I didn't feel that way ever. I just
Yeah.
felt like maybe it was going to take longer than I thought, and I had concerns about the way things were being done, maybe, and you guys listened and fixed it.
Yeah. So let's fast forward to, say, the final stages of the onboarding, when you start seeing signs that, okay, there's probably an end in sight. You're starting to see the results, you're starting to see the software with the data in it. What was the first moment where you felt like, wait, this actually works? Like, what did we just do here? Was there a moment like that? Can you tell
Yeah,
us
there
about?
was there was a bunch of them like that. Yeah, there was a bunch of them like that where we got into the system, and once we start using the rights out, the rights out is where in a system you can look up a contract or a title, and you can see where that title is being distributed. There's what's called distribution events, where you can look up a title, and there's kind of a diary of where a title is and what you've done with that title. And like I said, you've got to use the software, and I've emphasized my team to do it. If a title is on Amazon, I want it in Rights Out. I want it in Molten. I want to be able to. So these wow events to me were a bunch of them. It's like I think the first time, I think we just migrated everything in, and I go, okay, let me check it out. And I think I searched like, give me every title that we have on Hitler, for example. And
Yeah.
I went into your magic search, and all these titles popped up. Whatever. A title, and give me titles, touring Australia. Boom! All these keywords with Australia comes up. I was able to search my database. I mean, I never could ever do that before. That was like incredible. I looked at that and I go, this is unbelievable. And from a sales standpoint, that's gold, right? That makes you money. When
Yeah.
you can access, see, this is why I want to do it too. When you can access your content like that, and when you're talking to a customer and they go, "Hey, what do you have what do you have on cooking? What are your cooking shows?" And like, "Oh, hold on, let me see." Boom, boom, boom. I have 400 titles, 400 episodes on cooking. I have 7 series,
Yeah.
crime. Boom. And you put keywords in, and you can search like that. Search a customer. What's on Tubi?
Yeah.
Boom. What? Here's a saucy one.
Okay.
I said it's easy for me to tell Molten, you guys. I can tell what's on Tubi, but tell me what's not on Tubi.
Yeah. 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 A
You
lot of people
guys,
have that.
you guys figured that out for me.
Yeah. It's like, I want to pitch to Amazon what I've not pitched to Tubi.
Yeah, it's not only what's on, but what's not on. That was your team went,
Yeah, that was
saucy.
one of those interesting ones.
Yeah. See, so this is just an example of many wow moments like that. Is once you get your content into a database like that, not counting avails. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about that quickly,
Let's
but
talk about it.
yeah, I mean, that's a game changer, because see, that makes you money. Molten makes you money. Molten remembers. Molten does all those things. So I'm talking to whatever service, Roku, and I want to know what I have not availed to them, or I want to know certain things. So I go in, I search what I'm searching for, get my list,
Yeah.
hit a magic envelope export button, boom, 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 select the Roku template, you know, and boom, my avails are there. I babysit those avails, send them off. That used to take weeks. I used to have somebody doing that for me. I
Yeah.
do it all myself now, to
Amazing.
create avails, and that's a huge benefit. So in terms of quick avails, searching your database, being able to find out what you got, what you don't have, where it is, where it's not, that all
Yeah.
makes you money. You know, I
Yeah.
found once we got started with Molten, I found stuff where I said, "How come we've never sold this to anybody?" I completely forgot about it. It was like, well, this genre is doing well, and there's 100 hours over here we've never even availed to them. Send them over, boom, money, money found money. Molten finds you money. See, that's
Love
the
that.
key to it.
Yeah, I love
But
that.
you got to use it.
Yeah, yeah. And I appreciate your perspective about thinking of Molten as a lifestyle change for a company and not so much as, you know, oh, it's another one of the softwares in our repository. Um, so you talked about the changes you started seeing as you went live with rights management. Let's talk about on the royalties side. At what point did you feel like this might actually work?
Okay, well, you get your rights management buttoned up first. I recommend you start with that. Get your
Yeah.
content and your contracts into the system. Don't do it all at once. And so we waited on the rights management part of it because we wanted to make sure that all our content was buttoned up. Because if your content's not in the rights management portion, once you go to do royalties, it's a nightmare. You're not going to match anything. So, and even when you start on the royalty part of it, you're gonna find stuff that you got to fix. But we got that all buttoned up, and then we started talking about the rights management, and I didn't believe it. I don't know how your system is gonna take 60,000 lines from a service and look at that, import it, and magically match it to our contracts and to what's in Molten. I don't.
Mhm.
I mean, because if Tubi calls it one thing and Amazon calls that title another thing, how does Molten know that? For example, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So what we started doing is taking these royalty reports from these customers, and it was a process to to match what's coming in with what you got. And the great thing about Molten is once you tell it that this title is called 5 different things by
Yeah.
5 different customers, it remembers that.
Yep.
See? And so once you do it once you go through the headache of matching it all up once, it's done. All you're
Yep.
doing is maintaining going forward. But that matching it is tough. You got to have a good team on both sides and to understand what it is. And Molten has got to read those reports coming in, and it's not. I didn't think you could do it, but when we ran a test royalty report, I just couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. We cut down our royalty accounting so much on that, and our time. And now you run those reports. I look at them. Takes me 30 minutes to look at a quarter and go, oh no, that one's off. And so it's just a fix. I contact my team or your team and go, hey, you guys got that title wrong, and you fix it, and it never comes back ever again. So pretty incredible.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing. Let's now um, look back. So at this point, you're live with the system. You've gone through the difficult process of migrating, changing lifestyle within the company a little bit. Um, the hard part is done. The rights management is set up. The royalties management is set up. You're getting the statements from the system. You're ingesting incoming data into the system. So if we look back, um, maybe we look at the takeaways, the tangible takeaways, and then we can talk about the intangibles. So the tangible takeaways, and you can share with us at this point any real numbers, any impact that it's had on your business.
Uh, it's completely changed our business. The way we approach sales, the way we approach accounting, our content. I mean, once you get it in Molten, the other thing is you got to get it back into our system, our own TCD system, so we have it in our accounting program.
Right.
You guys work with us to do that. We can export that all back into our system now. No problem. So all the work that Molten software does, we get it back into our system. I mean, that was a little bit of work, but it's a whole, like I said, it's a lifestyle. You've got to rights management, royalties, your content, who you sell it to, how it's managed. That's a key. That's how you make money. And if you can do that, if you have a good handle on that, there's all kinds of things that you can do from a sales and a partnership when you have the ability to search, to quickly avail, to get to your content. So it's a game changer for me. Now, with those are tangible things, but it's money. It costs money. It's not free to do it. So you have to say, hey, look is this going to make me way more money than I'm paying? And my answer was absolutely, it was going to do it. And I'm going to make sure it does it, because I'm going to use every tool that's in here. I'm paying for it, and I'm going to use these tools. And if it doesn't work, I'm going to contact Arjun, and he's going to say, okay, let me work on that.
Yes.
And you'll listen to me, so and I emphasize my team, you've got to use this software because it will make you money, and it has. It's made us more efficient. It's cut our accounting costs down. It's cut our availing costs down. The time is unbelievable.
Yeah. So let's talk specifics. If you were to look at the before and after time on avails, what is the impact, order of magnitude?
That's night and day. Like I said, you take avails and you fill out all those crazy spreadsheets that these services want with I might avail 300 or 400 hours a quarter.
Wow.
Multiply that times every piece of data that they want. That spreadsheet's huge. I mean, I had somebody working for me who was just doing my avail spreadsheets for me. And I go, hey, I'm going to avail something to Tubi next week. It's 300 hours. It'd take them a week to put that together. Okay? Now, I go, this is what I'm looking for. Boom, 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 boom. Comes up on my list. I hit the Tubi template. Boom. Pops out for me. I see it. I babysit it. Add a few things in there because, and this is what we're working on right now. Every piece of metadata that a customer wants, you got to have in the system, and that takes time, because, they want the IMDb link. Well, we don't have the IMDb link in for every title, we're working on that. We'll get that in. But the great thing about it is use your API is if I have somebody that says, hey, look up every IMDb link for every title, I just throw it into your API and you guys import it. We don't have to go to every title and do it. That's a huge tool. So, hey, I would say not only did I eliminate have to pay somebody to do it, it probably cut 90% of the time off my avails.
Amazing.
No, that's huge.
That is pretty amazing. And
that's a game changer. So if you cut 90% of time off your avails, you're availing more efficiently with all your content. That makes you money.
Agreed. Let's talk about accounting hours. What is the order of magnitude difference that you found?
Look at once you get rolling with the royalties part of it, it's just night and day. I mean, our accounting department, all we do now is we match our deposits with incoming royalties from our services and platforms. Okay. We make sure that spreadsheet or whatever is sent to us is in the order of what Molten is ready to take and has we've set up to take. There may be a
Yeah.
little babysitting sometimes because we want to make sure that Molten knows the format. So all we do
Yeah.
is match the deposit to the royalty report coming in. We don't do any matching. We send it off to Molten. We send it off to Molten. And the funny thing was, I go, okay, hey, we're sending all this stuff over to Molten. I go, how long is it going to take them to do these royalties? It's going to take 2-3 weeks, and then we'll have reports. As soon as you send it over, and if you click run the royalty, that royalty within like a day. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. It's like there's no waiting. And so the only thing we're dealing with now is part of our accounting is just matching up those deposits with the incoming, and then taking a look at those royalty reports once they're kicked out and making sure they're right. If there's any weirdness to them, and then you guys punch out the statements for our customers,
Yeah.
and I mean we probably cut down 75% of our royalty hours by using you guys. And it's right because you don't have to match that title every time. You know what I mean? Once you fixed it the quarter before, you don't have to fix it anymore. So I mean, just huge savings in accounting, thousands and thousands of dollars and hours in accounting. So, which is great because that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. And that's so fulfilling to hear that because that's what we're working towards. Um, let's talk about the intangibles. So there's, making money, as you said, faster avails, more distribution capability, more efficient operations and royalties. So that's lowering the costs. So tangibly, you're able to drive higher revenue, you're able to scale, you're able to reduce your costs, drive a more efficient team. What about the subjective or the intangible sides of the benefits? Like, has it added to a better lifestyle, stress levels, reputation? Like, can you talk a bit about maybe other things that are not that obvious?
Yeah, power.
Hmm.
Power is interesting. If you have a handle on your library is your money. Your library is your company.
Hmm.
If you have a handle on that, it empowers you to do things that you didn't feel you could do before. Okay? So empowering, obviously it's less stress. I mean, when royalties come along, or if somebody contacts us and go, you know what? We need I had a customer contact me the other day. Hey, can you avail to us everything that you've not sold us, availed to us already? How the hell are you going to do that if you didn't have Molten? How am I going to? I'm going to look up every title we have. Impossible. But I was able to go in and reverse search what we don't have with that customer. Boom, the list popped up. Kind of compared it to our royalty statement and go, here's the list. So less stress. It's empowering. There's less pressure to search for something. Everybody's always calling you. Hey, where's my title? Where's my title? Hey, where do you have it up? Producers and whatnot. It's a hassle. Now I can just look it up and say, oh, hey, it's right here. Boom. You send it off. You talk to somebody. So it's less pressure, less, it's less stress. It's just all those great things that you hope it does. Now, the only thing it's added is that I'm on my team. You got to use Molten.
Yeah.
Anything you do, it's got to go into that system. So, but and that takes a little bit of time for people to understand, that it's an integral part of how we're doing business now.
Gotcha. So let's conclude with any advice you have for people who are maybe on the fence of signing up for a migration. of a similar magnitude, or are just in the early consideration process of whether or not to even embark on such a project? What
Mhm.
advice would you give them?
Well, I think you have to have a catalog that's in distribution that justifies it, right?
Hmm.
I mean, if you have a few hundred titles or whatever, it does. I don't think it justifies. You can just do it, you know. But if you have a growing catalog with thousands and thousands of hours with broad distribution, uh, and you keep acquiring content, we're producing content, we're just scaling, exponentially. You've got to have a system like this.
Hmm.
And if you have that much content and you have that much distribution, the efficiencies will more than cover the cost of a system like this. You're leaving money on the table if you don't have a system like this.
Yeah.
And this is a key to our going to the next level, as far as a TCD goes. We had to put, this software, and there's other softwares we're doing now. You've got to have this, because if you don't have it, you're inefficient, you're leaving money on the table, and there's no way you're causing yourself a tremendous amount of hassle and stress by not having support in these areas like this. So it's got to make sense. And if you are going through any of the stuff that I talked about, you got to start looking at this.
Mm. Amazing. I'm sure it'll ring true for a lot of people attending today. In the last couple of minutes, I'll just take a few of the questions we've gotten on the Q&A panel. Starting from the bottom, we have a question here that you mentioned it takes a day to produce statements. Is there a manual process happening on the Molten side, or is it processing for a long time? So I can probably answer that
Yeah,
here.
you can answer that better than me. Yeah.
Um, Interestingly enough, there is actually zero manual process in Molten statement generation. It is completely programmatic. Not only is the statement generation process completely programmatic, even the data ingestion normalization process is also completely programmatic. We do not have any outsourced or any, side team that is sitting and cleaning up the data or creating the statement. There is no manual process as such. The only reason that we talk about it taking a day or maybe, a couple of days would only be because Molten's customer success team, technical operations team takes the time to ensure that we are reviewing it before, we give the thumbs up to our clients for their review. So it is just a value-added service. These especially early days of going live with the royalty system, we want to make sure, were there any surprises in this report? Did we receive titles that were not in this catalog? And do we want to send an email to our clients to see how they want to move forward? So we just do a review of it, but there is no manual process involved in generating these statements. That's a good question. Another question. Does TCD use Molten Avail selectively for all title offerings in the catalog, including if you have any foreign language titles? Or are you doing it only for a subset of your titles?
Everything,
Every
everything. Yeah, and I emphasize that if we sell it, it's got to be in Molten. As a matter of fact, I don't avail anything to any customer until it's in Molten,
Yeah.
because when it goes into Molten, it's buttoned up. I say, hey, look it. I don't want it in Molten if we don't have art assets. I don't want it in Molten if we don't have the video files. I don't want it in Molten if we don't have metadata. I don't want it in Molten if there's no contract in there.
Yeah.
My team, you get all that stuff, and when that's ready, put it in Molten. Then I know I can sell it. Then our sales team knows that it's good to go. Because before, it was like, oh, we got a new title, let's avail it. Avail it and go, oh, Tubi wants it. Oh, we can't sell it. We don't have the art
Yeah.
assets. So I use it for everything, all countries, everything.
Amazing. All right, we'll wrap it up over here. So in conclusion, these are the key sort of tangible takeaways from this project. And kudos to the Total Content Digital team, to the onboarding, product, customer success teams at Molten for driving results like these. 90% lower time for availing, 75% reduction in accounting hours, and we are still just continuing to improve. I think we've gotten a strong foundation, and as Ken mentioned, once a project like this is underway, then you start thinking about second and third order level optimizations that were not even possible prior to a project like this. So Ken, thank you so much for taking the time. We went through a few questions. If you're not able to get to your questions today, please feel free to reach out to us at contact@moltencloud.com. We would love to hear from you. I know somebody even pointed out they'd want to see your demo. This is the place to go. Just send us an email and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, that's it. All right. I'm at Stream TV in Denver, so anybody wants to talk to me, I'll be around. Thanks a lot, Arjun. I appreciate it. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Ken, and thanks to OTT.X for having us all here.
Thank you, Arjun and Ken, for a fantastic conversation and a deep dive into the world of rights and royalties. It really helps to paint a picture on the current complex state of rights and royalties management and the need for an optimized solution to ultimately save you time, money, and avoid getting hit by the bus, as Arjun so eloquently put it. It was very fascinating to get a first-hand example from Total Content Digital and its migration onto the Molten platform. And also great to hear how Ken described Molten's collaboration with Total Content Digital and Molten not providing a cookie cutter solution, but a tailored solution to what TCD's needs were. We love to be an egalitarian association that serves big guy and little guy and love companies who practice the same, Arjun. Molten Cloud is on the quest to empower rights holders of digital media content by eliminating operational hurdles and making content intellectual property more accessible globally. And Ken and TCD have developed its expertise and know-how to identify which content subjects yield the highest revenues with each platform and a catalog of content across a wide variety of genres. If you'd like to connect with Arjun or Ken, please feel free to reach out to the OTT.X team and we would be happy to facilitate. Of course, this session was recorded and will be available for viewing on demand at OTTX.org. And finally, we hope you join us for the next OTT.X webinar taking place next week on April 30th. It will be focused on AI content and video, how data-driven video intelligence and AI is reshaping advertising. That AI-focused presentation will be led by Zach Rosenberg, founder and CEO of Cortex. We thank our presenters and our audience once again for joining us today and being a valued part of our streaming community. We hope that you will join us next time and that you enjoy the rest of your day. Arjun, Ken, thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.
Thank you all.